Hi, this is Carrie Canary Quilts, and I'm working on quilting my Dear Jane quilt. If you're new here, I have a whole YouTube playlist showing from beginning to end of putting the blocks together, putting the quilt together, and now I'm doing the quilting. I have utilized the Dear Jane add-on for EQ8. And it is an add-on that I would say is totally worth the price. If it's not on sale, it's totally worth the price. It's a very, very robust add-on. I don't have the book, the Dear Jane book by Brenda Papadakis, but the book is translated over to the Dear Jane add-on, and you get a lot of the things that are in the book also, and some of the history behind the quilt with the add-on. So if you're thinking about it, I would totally recommend it. I have a link in the description down below, not only to the Dear Jane add-on, but to EQ8 and all the other items you might see in this video. So I am on row K, which means we are in week 11. We only have 2 more weeks after this, and then the center will be quilted and we're moving out to the edges. Don't be intimidated by this quilt. You're working with 4.5 inches square at one time, and that is it. It really breaks it down nicely so that you're not having to push the quilt around and see where you're going in the future. You're just working with that 4.5 inch square. So I do have, if you're new here, I do have a little rule I'm using. I'm not going to quilt through my applique, and that's just on this quilt, and that's just me personally. So you won't see me do that. But one thing that I did notice as I got into these last few rows of quilting is, I don't know if it's, I think it's the next week's video, you'll hear me call it the Dear Jane special. It seems like in these last few rows, she starts to do a whole lot of X's. It kind of, as you're going along, you start wondering, like, what was she thinking when she was doing this? What order did she go in when she was doing this? Did she do it the same order as we do? Because it seems like there's not quite as much quilting, and there is a lot of X's in these last few rows, which is fine. That's absolutely fine. It's an easy way to get it quilted, and makes it easier on us. So what I've been doing is I've been opening the DJ4 Quilting Center Blocks Master. I'm not making any changes to this file, so I'm opening the master. I'm using the sketchbook, and I'm going to the quilts portion, and each block is laid out there. And I start with the block I need, which I'm starting with K1. And then I look at the lines on here, and then I go and translate them with a friction pen to my quilt. And the friction pen does go away with heat, so I iron it off at the end. So that's about it. This time there's not too much. Well, this is applique, so I'm not doing the X's. I'm just going to go around it. And like I said, a lot of X's, which is fine. So I am going to mark my quilt. I do have to apologize this week. I didn't hit the record button when I started quilting. So I have me marking and I have me ironing at the end. So you'll get to see my quilting. You just won't actually see me do it. It's pretty much the same as it has been in the few weeks where I do one block and then I work myself out of that block and into the next block. But you'll see me mark it up and you'll see me quilt it. You'll see the quilting at the end. So I do apologize for that. It's just this week that I did that. I guess when I reached up there to hit record, I missed. So just want to apologize. But anyway, hit the subscribe button, notification bell if you want to see how this turns out in the end, if you want to follow this series, and check out my YouTube playlist if you want to get started. So let's head down to my desk. We are working on row K. I'm going to mark it and then we'll quilt it. So this is K1 right here. I'm going to mark my blocks like it shows in EQ8, and if I have to measure a certain amount to get my marking, I'll let you know. or if I make a change, I'll let you know. But this one has just got kind of a grid going on. All right, there we go. We just don't have lines in here per Dear Jane. K2, just gonna do lines like this all the way across at each point. So that's all it is. It's just these lines going this way at every single point on here. K3 is an X with squares, just like we've done before. K3. Getting to, some of these are kind of the same quilting designs as we've done before. This one's interesting. It's just an X. With a line right outside of the corner seams. So that's all there is to that quilting. K5 has X's in these corners. And then we have lines going diagonally in these corners. So first I'm going to do the center one. And then let's go 1/2 inch on each side. There we go. These 5 lines inside the orange and an X in the whites. And K6 is pretty easy. We've got a big ol' X. And then in here, I'm just going to use 1/4 inch. We've got Echo Quilting. There we go. That one's pretty easy. This one is very easy. It's applique. I'm just going to go around it. I'm not going to go inside. So we are basically going down the middle of all of these. Like this. And the brown, my brown, yours is probably a different color. And then make an X. I don't know, this may not take too long. There's not that much there. K9 has a grid on the inside at every single point, both ways. And then we have a square out here, which I'm going to go down the middle. And then a line, a seam into the squares. I'm going to go 1/2 inch. There we go. All right, K10 has a diagonal line. And a line, so you can see there's a pink square right here. That line is just right inside of that seam. And then a 1/2 inch out into these points. All right, K11. Big ol' X. X is in the corner. I think what I'll do is I'll line up on this seam, this blue seam, and do that. Get this line here. I'm lining my 1/2 inch line up on that blue seam, sorry. There we go. All right, J12. I think what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna stitch in the ditch around here and then do a line, diagonal line like that. She's right outside this line and then has some in here, but that's all I'm gonna do is stitch in the ditch in the square and go down the center. And then I'm gonna go a 1/2 inch out from that square and do another square. All right, so there we go, there's my outside square. Ooh, this may not take too long to quilt. So we have an X. And then, okay, so what I'm gonna do is line my 1/2 inch line up on this part of the flying geese and go from this end up to here. There we go, and then we have this square in here. All right, I'm going to start quilting, and again I'm going to start with 13 so that I have less material to the right inside the neck of my machine. All right, there we go, finished the quilting for row K. It's getting exciting because I can see the end of the center blocks over there. I only have 2 more rows to do. This one didn't take too long. It was pretty easy to mark and quilt. I don't know if the quilting is not as much or if it's just that I don't have as much under the neck of my machine. It's getting easier. You just got to really kind of check your patience there with those middle rows because they can get tough. Just take it slow and know that there's not all center rows in this quilt. You've only got a few of them. I am getting to the point where I'm ready to work on a different quilt though. I look at all these other projects I have and I just can't get them out because this is what's on my table. But I'll be so happy when it's done. It'll be so pretty. I'll know how much work I put myself into it. What do you think of the music I used last time for the quilting? I thought it was good. I thought it was kind of fun. I probably use the same music now in this one. So let me know what you think. If you really don't like it, I can find a different one, but I kind of like it when I rewatch it back. All right, we're getting towards the end. So you know what that means. Check out the links in the description down below. You can see everything I use to to help me quilt this quilt, my gloves, the slider mat that's on my machine, my iron. I think I got the thread I'm using. It does help the channel out if you just check those links out. And hit the subscribe button, notification bell. You can see the end of this and all the other fun stuff I am eventually going to get to when I'm done with this quilt. It's going to be fun. But remember, I appreciate you, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.